Hi there. Thanks for being here. What we're about to explore is something truly extraordinary, something that goes far beyond a typical movie. A powerful new film is coming to theaters, and it promises to leave a lasting impression. The Passion of the Christ. The Resurrection, directed by Mel Gibson, isn't just a continuation of a story. It's a cinematic event that could change the way people see one of the most important moments in human history. This movie takes us back to a moment that happened over 2,000 years ago, but it tells it in a way that's fresh, emotional, and deeply human. It brings together the sacred and the earthly, blending spiritual mystery with raw emotion. It's not just a story about the resurrection of Jesus. It's about everything that moment set in motion. The days following the crucifixion were filled with fear, sorrow, and silence, but also with signs that something far greater was taking shape behind the scenes. The resurrection isn't shown as just a miracle. It's treated as the spark that lit a fire across all of creation. The film explores what happened on Earth, but it also reaches beyond, showing how spiritual realms were shaken and transformed by this event. You're not just watching people react. You're witnessing heaven and earth collide. Every frame of this movie has been created with incredible care. The attention to emotion, light, and silence makes each scene feel personal and powerful. The apostles, overwhelmed by grief, are shown searching for meaning in the chaos. The tomb, once a place of finality, becomes the beginning of something no one could have expected. The creative team behind this film has poured their hearts into making sure every moment carries weight and wonder. This project has been in development for nearly 20 years. It's more than a movie. It's a passion project built by people who want to honor the magnitude of this event. They didn't just want to tell the story. They wanted viewers to feel it, to experience it, and to walk away changed. And that's why anticipation has been building with every update and announcement. The story begins in a quiet, heart-wrenching moment. A group of women, still grieving, makes their way to the tomb. They expect to find a lifeless body, to mourn in silence. But instead, they're met with something no one could have prepared for. The tomb is empty. The atmosphere feels different, heavy, mysterious, and strangely full of energy. And then angels appear. But these aren't just glowing figures. They're messengers with words that shift reality. Why do you seek the living among the dead? That question changes everything. It's more than an announcement. It's a doorway into a new understanding. Jesus hasn't just returned to life. He's opened a path into a world that exists beyond the physical, a world where divine power has broken through the limits of time and space. What seemed impossible has now happened, and nothing will ever be the same again. For the disciples, this wasn't easy to process. They were scared, unsure, and full of doubt. They didn't understand what was happening or what it meant. But the resurrection wasn't just a private victory. It was a cosmic shift. Behind the veil of the visible world, something powerful was taking place. Darkness was being pushed back. The boundaries between life and death, spirit and flesh, were breaking apart. Even hell, the place long thought to be ruled by suffering, takes on a new role in this story. It becomes the setting for Christ's unstoppable power. What was once a place of defeat becomes a scene of triumph. The forces that tried to hold power had it stripped away. The victory didn't stop at the grave. It moved outward into every corner of existence, carrying a message that nothing could stand against. This moment wasn't just an ending. It was a beginning, a new chapter for all humanity. Those who lived through it were changed in ways they couldn't fully explain. The women, who once trembled in sorrow, became the first to witness the truth. The apostles, once frozen by fear, found themselves standing on the edge of something vast and holy. They had been paralyzed by grief, their faith fragile. But when the risen Christ appeared, everything shifted. His words were not just calming, they were alive. They stirred something in their souls. He said, "Peace be with you," and that peace wasn't just comfort, it was power. It was clarity. It brought them back to life in a new way. Their fear began to melt away. What had once felt like the end now looked like the beginning of a mission. The arrival of the Holy Spirit gave them the courage to speak out, to face the same world that had crucified their teacher, and to do so with unshakable belief. Despite their imperfections, despite all they had seen, they became living proof of what had happened. They didn't just remember the resurrection, they carried it with them in every word, every step, every sacrifice. Imagine a story that doesn't just show people doing great things, but brings you into their hearts, into their fears, and into the moment where everything changed for them. That's the kind of story this movie can tell. It wouldn't just show the actions of Peter or Thomas, it would help us feel the weight of their decisions, their doubts, and the deep inner battles they faced. Peter, for instance, wasn't always brave. He once denied knowing Jesus out of fear. But something happened after that, a transformation so powerful that he ended up preaching with a voice full of conviction to crowds of thousands. His past weakness made his courage even more meaningful. Then there's Thomas, often remembered for doubting. But when he finally believed, his faith became unshakable. He carried the message far beyond where anyone expected it to go. These weren't just followers. They became leaders, messengers, and witnesses to something far greater than themselves. Each of them lit a spark that started a fire, one that has been burning for thousands of years and continues to impact lives even today. But what gave them this strength? It wasn't because they were naturally fearless or strong. It came from their belief that death no longer had the final word. They were convinced, deep in their bones, that Jesus had risen. That belief turned ordinary people into unstoppable forces. You don't give up your life for a lie. And these men didn't just talk, they acted. Their actions, sacrifices, and unshakable resolve are what make this story so powerful. They didn't just believe, they knew, and what they knew changed the world. That's the emotional and spiritual core behind the resurrection of Christ, the much-anticipated sequel to the Passion of the Christ. After years of planning, production officially began in January 2025. Directed again by Mel Gibson, this film isn't just a continuation of the story, it's an expansion of it. It's designed to explore not only what happened after the crucifixion, but the cosmic and spiritual impact of those events. Caviezel returns as Jesus, and he's more passionate than ever about the role. He's called this script even more powerful than the first. Because the story begins just 3 days after the crucifixion, the team is using advanced digital effects to make Caviezel look the same as he did in the original 2004 film, keeping continuity tight and immersive. The script itself took over 7 years to develop. Mel Gibson and writer Randall Wallace crafted a narrative that goes beyond Earth. It moves between different realms, depicting not only the human world, but heaven and hell as vivid, symbolic places. These aren't just background settings, they're essential parts of the story. Through powerful visuals and rich symbolism, the film explores the true scope of Jesus' resurrection. It aims to show how that one moment in time became the foundation of a spiritual revolution. But the story doesn't stop at the resurrection. It also dives into the birth of the early Christian movement. It shows how the disciples, now filled with courage and conviction, began spreading the message, and how their boldness shifted the course of history. This won't be a dry historical retelling. It's being shaped as a sweeping, emotional journey with moments of supernatural wonder and deep human struggle. The filming locations themselves were chosen with care. places like Malta, Morocco, and Israel, each offering a natural, rugged beauty that reflects the raw, spiritual energy of the events being portrayed. The visual effects team is working alongside cinematographers and production designers to create scenes that feel both realistic and otherworldly. Whether it's an encounter with an angel or a vision of the spiritual realm, these moments are being crafted to feel as powerful as they are believable. At the center of it all is the ultimate battle between good and evil, not just as a metaphor, but as a living presence in the story. The forces of light and darkness aren't hidden. They're shown as active participants in the drama. This adds another layer to the experience. The audience isn't just watching events unfold. They're being drawn into a spiritual war that's still being fought today, inside hearts and across history. Now that production is officially underway, it's clear that this film is aiming to be one of the biggest cinematic events of the decade, maybe even the century. Fans of the original film are hoping it will not only live up to expectations but surpass them, offering something even deeper and more transformative than before. So, what do you think? Are you excited to see how this new chapter unfolds? Do you believe the resurrection of Christ can capture the same emotional and spiritual depth as the first movie, or even take it further? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay updated with all the latest news, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We've got much more coming your way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.